Picking good coins is half the battle, but knowing when to enter and exit those coins is the other half of that equation. And now it's not possible to know exactly when you should enter and buy a coin and when you should sell that coin because no one can properly predict when the coin is going to hit its high and hit its lows. However, you can use technical analysis and other variables to get a good idea of when you should dollar cost average into these coins. And then the other part of that is which coin should you dollar cost average into. In this video, I want to look at two coins in particular, look at how they're performing, look at their charts. As you can see, I have one up right now, which looks pretty good. And I want to look at what happened to a coin last cycle that performed very well and saw a very sharp correction, like we've seen with some of the coins I'm going to get into here, and see what happened following that, and show that right now we may be in a similar period to what we saw back then. So what I want to talk about today is, first of all, Injective, which is a really good coin, has been performing incredibly well the past year. And I also want to look at FET. I'll look at FET afterwards. To start off with Injective, we can see Injective had a huge rally, which I've spoken about before. We saw Injective have this huge rally up, 4,000%, an absolute monstrous rally. Few corrections, but they were minor, small accumulation phases, and then just kept going up and up and up. And eventually, all good things must come to an end, and we saw a correction and a sideways downwards movement accumulation phase, sort of as Bitcoin started to slow down as well, which was as expected. We saw this across many altcoins. We've been through this. Eventually, we did break out of this pattern, right? We had 5 tries to get out of it, and we eventually got out of this pattern. And then we've come down and we're sitting on the line right now. So we're not in the clear. We're looking for the confirmation. And if you zoom in, we have bounced a little bit, but we're not out the clear by any means. We're still waiting, and we're hoping that Bitcoin starts to get in a bit of a rally and we can see Injective move up nicely. That would be really good. Nonetheless, it is very bullish what we're seeing on the Injective chart. And this is what I want to get into, is that, like, one of the things that I absolutely look into when I'm looking at which coins you should buy, I think coins that have performed well early in the market, early in this bull market cycle, are likely to perform well later in the cycle. That typically makes sense. And we saw this in the last bull run as well, which is what I'm going to get into. I'm going to pull up an old chart of Polkadot, which actually was a hot coin back in the day, and explain what we saw with Polkadot and why we might be seeing a similar trend forming in some of these altcoins. So this is the Injective chart as we've gone through, looking pretty nice. FET is another coin that's looking very good. Saw a very similar rally. The reason why I pulled these two coins up, because they both have very similar charts and have seen pretty similar price movement, right? Huge increase, not many corrections, not many accumulation phases. What that leads to being overpriced and eventually a slow bleed accumulation phase and a big correction. Only two main hits of resistance here, and you draw this line, you can see we're currently on the line, just like Injective. It's basically the same chart almost. This is a descending broadening wedge, a little bit different to the falling wedge we've seen in Injective, but the same premise. And we're sitting in this line, as we're saying, we want to see a bounce here and move forward. If we land back in, then that's obviously not ideal, but that's what we're seeing for FET, which is an AI coin. Injective is also an AI coin as well. And AI coins, that sector has been performing very well this cycle. We all know this. AI and meme coins are probably the two best performing sectors in the market, as well as probably Bitcoin. To be honest, Bitcoin's just outperformed a lot of coins and hold good strength. And we've just seen that with the Bitcoin dominance continuing to rise throughout this cycle, whilst altcoins have just bled. So you really had to pick the right altcoins, which is where I say that's like 50% of the battle is picking the right coins, but then 50% is knowing when to get into and when to get out of coins, right? And so if you were able to time this top, you did very well. And then in these lower prices is obviously the time where you try to get in. And if we see this bounce here and we start to move up, then obviously right now is a good time to buy, which is why it might be a time to DCA. I want to pull up this Polkadot chart. Again, I'm not advocating for Polkadot. I'm not saying that Polkadot is a new coin and has great utility. Polkadot is not quite an old coin, but this was the hot coin last cycle. Like, that is just the truth, and it did a really well, pretty strong return, right? Polkadot did very well. What we saw, and a lot of these coins did the same thing. It was Polkadot, it was Cardano, it was Chainlink. A lot of these old coins that performed very well, they went and had this huge rally, and then what happened was there was the correction. Bitcoin corrected, and then a lot of altcoins, pretty much all altcoins had a huge correction, nearly 80%. But then what you can see from that is after this correction, we went straight back up, right? It was down and then it was just almost straight back up. And even a lot of these coins went higher. Polkadot didn't go much higher, just like Bitcoin didn't go much higher the second time, but it did go higher. And Polkadot as well just went higher as well. And then the market topped and we all went down from there, right? But Injective is showing very similar signs of that sort of trend, where it was a very strong move and then a correction and then ideally another move back up. And we're starting to see this sort of an upwards channel beginning to form as well to come out of this descending channel, because we were in this for like nearly 200 days. This was a long time sitting in this channel. As we said, it did make sense given the price movement we're seeing from some of these altcoins and making just huge gains. It makes sense to enter into these phases, but we're finally now seeing this sort of ascending channel beginning to appear. We're breaking out. We're just hoping for a nice bounce here, and then FET pretty similar, a bit sharper to be honest on this ascending channel. It's obviously very high up, which is not sustainable. You will eventually break down, but it's still bullish signs, and the AI sector has just been forming very well, which is what we're going to get into. Even though the past 7 days AI is down, when you look at other sectors, so I'm going to bring up meme coins here. Very good sector, except for PopCat, the outlier. Everything's down, very similar percentage. Gaming coins, another good sector, down. A lot of sectors and real world assets here as well, which is doing about the same. So a lot of assets are down, which is why it's not a good predictor. But this is one of the good sites you can use to sort of see, okay, well, what sectors are performing well. And when you look at over monthly time frames or 3 month time frames, you will see that AI and meme coins are sort of the best performing sectors. Real world assets is pretty good, and gaming is pretty good as well. Meme coins is obviously a bit risky because they're meme coins, and no one wants to really buy into meme coins because they don't hold a lot of utility. Whereas AI is obviously a very good sector to actually get into because it has actual application. And real world assets, very good sector as well. So these are the sort of things that I personally look at. As for more important things moving forward, I would argue this is very important. The presidential election winner for this year. So this is in, I believe, a month. Probably says somewhere here. I believe it's within about a month, and Trump is now a little bit ahead on here. Obviously, this is still speculation, but this will be very bullish as well. And it's something to watch as well. If one candidate does get further ahead, Trump was ahead for a bit, and then Kamala was ahead for quite a bit, about a month. And then recently Trump has regained that. But this is what I'm seeing for the technical analysis. I do very bullish on Injective and FET. They are seeing this little correction at the moment, even from a nice little move they've seen, 50% up in like a month, which is pretty strong, and then down 20-30%. So it could be like a bit more sideways movement for these coins, and then hopefully we start to see rise out. Firstly, get out of this big descending channel, get out of this downward movement, start to move sideways, start to move up, and then obviously it's going to be very reliant on Bitcoin, as it always is. And yeah, hopefully Bitcoin does trend out of the 62K range, head higher, head to all-time highs, and we can start another uptrend. So this is what I'm seeing. Once again, I always say this, that the coins that perform well the early in the cycle have their correction, and then typically will go on to perform well later in the cycle. So if you think the cycle is going to go further, which I think most people do, like this is the halving year, it's the most bullish time of the year. Halving and the election is just very bullish for the entire market. So I like to look for these coins and not look for those coins that didn't perform well early, because they're not the hot topic. They're not what people are actually interested in. And gaming, AI, meme coins, they are the sectors that people are actually interested in. And so Injective, FET, and a variety of other coins, which I explore on the channel, real world assets as well, and gaming coins. And I'll make future videos about them as well. So let me know what you guys think of these coins in particular, these sectors, and which coins you're bullish on, and what you think of this analysis, and how you think Bitcoin and the altcoin market's going to go moving forward, particularly Bitcoin dominance, if you think that's going to eventually start to come down, or if you think it's going higher. So appreciate you guys watching. I'll see you later.